Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this week's The Double 15 Minutes with me, Rupa. So I'm really excited to have today's guest on, but before we bring him on, let's talk about what's been going on this week. So tomorrow, the children go back to school. I'm sure there's loads of mothers who are I've got a huge sigh of relief going on, but also probably feeling a little bit sad as well, because they've had, irrespective of homeschooling, they've had this amazing year to spend time with their children and watch them grow in such an amazing way. Because this year, I think 2020, or last year rather, I should say, 2020 has been, I don't think we've ever had a year like it, and I don't think we're ever going to have a year like it again. So yeah, it is one of those things. But I'm really interested to know about what you've been doing. How are you coping in 2021? Are you all looking forward to having your children going back to school? Are you dreading it? Let's talk about it. So we've got quite a few people watching right now. So we've had Sunitha Joshi joining us, Pauline Sharp, and then we've got quite a few people on YouTube and LinkedIn. So comments are at the bottom. So please do give us a comment, say hello, let us know where you're watching from and which platform you're watching from. And please, if you've got any questions for Ranjit, please do answer them. So let's bring Ranjit on in a minute. So just to say, Ranjit Thaliwal, he's a senior partner in Thaliwal and Veja Solicitors. But aside from his day job, he does a hell of a lot of philanthropic, altruistic work. So what I will do is, rather than me talk about him, let's bring Ranjit on so he can tell you more about himself. So, hi Ranjit, how are you?
Hi Rupa, good afternoon.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join.
No problem at all. Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh gosh, no, my pleasure, honestly. I mean, I just thought, with the work that you do, and also with the charity that we're going to be talking about, it's just such an amazing charity. And, the work that the founder of the charity does is just so inspiring. I mean, one of the things we saw at the beginning video was, we had a little bit of information there about the girls that are abandoned in India just purely because they are born as girls. We know that a lot of our, everything that we've been sharing on social media this week has been around that. Today's discussion is going to be around the unique home for girls, but also a few other bits that Ranjit does. But Ranjit, just before we go any further into questions, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you said, I'm a mental health law solicitor, a bit of an unusual field. So we represent those who are sectioned in psychiatric units. I've done that area of law for some time. Practice is based in Leicester. I'm sort of a Leicester lad, born and bred.
Yeah.
All the charitable efforts we have are, it's myself and my wife, Rena, who sort of project those matters. And we're involved in different things over the years, going back to sort of more than a decade, really, from our initial event. And yeah, we've chosen strategic things, specific things. Unique home is undoubtedly one of those for the long term. And you're right, certainly in terms of the home, it's an amazing place and a wonderful home.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I know, you know, it's like, because like for those, I mean, like your sister Pammy and I go back years and years and years. I mean, I think we go to nursery school from when we were sort of like little ones, just having nappies. And I remember Pammy telling me about this charity. So I was so excited when, you know, you said you would join the show, because it's something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. And also with the work you do, you say you did your first event 10 years ago. Can you tell us a little bit more about that event?
Well, so the first event we actually did was, if you remember, there was a restaurant on London Road called Antibes, a very nice Italian restaurant, and we did a mental health event for Mind, probably more than 12, 13 years ago. And it went really well. It was really positive. Everybody enjoyed it. We raised a nice total. And that then was a springboard for myself and Rena to think, let's try to do something back in Punjab, in the district where our original villages are, which is the district of Jalandhar. And we made some inquiries, and our sort of respective mums, our mums, had found this home which had a really good name, a good reputation. We inquired a bit further, and then we discovered Unique Home for Girls, and obviously then went to visit it ourselves. And that's where the journey started, really, a decade plus ago, by discovering the home.
Yeah, so here's the thing, because one of the things we were talking about, and I've been talking to a few colleagues and friends about, is the whole sort of like, you know, philanthropic and altruistic mindset. Do you think that is a nature or nurture thing? Do you think sort of like that comes from, you know, the family that you're born into, or the people that you surround yourself with?
I think we call it Seva service. That concept is there. It's ingrained in what we should do. I think the interesting thing about charitable work is not everybody wants to be the organizer of an event. Many people want to support in the background, support confidentially. And so I suppose the important thing is do something. You don't necessarily have to lead the events. Where we're blessed, myself and Rena, is we've got a network of obviously family, friends, business associates, etc., who support us event upon event. And they do it willingly, and that's where we're very lucky. That's where we managed to get projection, because of the fact that we have that brilliant support. Yeah,
but I mean, I think also, you know, I'll be honest, I think you and Rena are also very, very humble. I think most of the people that I've come across that are actually working, you know, work in the philanthropic field tend to be very, very humble about what they do. And I think, you know, you are leading by example. So, but let's talk about this situation that is going on within, and it's not just India. But, you know, I suppose the sort of like the charity is based in India, so you know that's where our conversation is going to be based mainly. But we know that there is a really big pandemic where girls are abandoned at birth or at a young age, you know, across sort of the East. It's not just an Indian problem. It does happen in China. It happens in Korea. It happens anywhere where there is a potential dowry system in place for the girl. So, you know, the prevalence is quite high. And I think most of us in the West, and even those of us who are Eastern heritage that live in the West, will look at it and we go, how the hell can anyone abandon their child just because she is born a girl? So, you know, it's one of those things, and we can't change a whole culture overnight. But what you know, I mean, you work quite closely. Can you just tell us more about the lady that is being coined Mother Hope? Because she takes in a lot of these girls that are being found. Let's talk a little bit more about sort of, I suppose, the pandemic behind the abandonment, and then actually more specifically what she does.
No, sure. I mean, a female infanticide, there's a lot of material out there. It's clearly a very, you know, disturbing issue. Again, we try to focus on the forward than what's happened. But clearly in India, complex reasons, dowry system favouring towards boys, this has happened. Where Bibi's managed to create something amazing is obviously from her own experience and from her own vision. Ultimately, she created Unique Home back in 1993, so it's gone back some time, and she was obviously trying to provide a home where girls could be brought up in a high quality upbringing, seek to maximize their potential. And that's demonstrated with the journey around education and some of the achievements the girls have had. So yeah, it's very much on her shoulders. She's you know, sort of an inspirational person. What she's achieved is been recognised, I think, through a number of awards in recent years. She doesn't seek those. She's again a very, very modest person. I mean, we've asked her a few times to come to the UK, do a little bit of a tour, you know, for awareness and funds. But she's so committed to the girls that she won't leave the home, and she's committed to stay there.
Yeah, I mean, because she is in effect her mother, so you know, their mother. Now, here's the thing, though, because I mean, her background, because she was abandoned about 60 years ago herself, wasn't she? She was left, and so I'm, you know, so was that part of sort of like her inspiration to create this charity because of her background?
It's difficult to say. I'm sure that was in the equation. What I can say, in all the interactions we've ever had with her, she's just a complete bundle of positivity. You know, that she sort of glows in the way she is. You know, what has happened in her background, it doesn't affect her mindset. It's totally positive. It's totally committed to the girls. It's excelling the home. It's to project the quality of the accommodation to the next level, as evidenced by the new home. So it's all about looking forward, always being on the front foot, always being positive.
Yeah, which is amazing. I think this is why, you know, she is such an inspirational woman. I think this is why she's got so many people wanting to support her, because it is about positivity. So before we go any further, we've had a few more people joining us. So Pooja Devani said, great charity and initiative. Paminda Kaur's watching us. Claire is watching us. And I know we've got more people, like I said, on LinkedIn. So we've had a comment. We had a comment earlier today from Satnam Singh on YouTube saying, daughters are pride of society, kindly save them from every clutch. So yeah, which is true. And I think, you know, it does tend to be a cultural thing, doesn't it, about girls and stuff. But let's talk about the positive aspects. So you said that, I mean, obviously she's got one home. How many girls does she look after at the moment in the one home? And can you tell us more about the second home?
Yeah, sure. I mean, essentially, it was a tough battle. When we first got involved, they had the original home, which they still have. By the nature of it, it became a little bit cramped because it was looking after the junior section, the sort of under twos, and then the elders as well. And they'd had this new plot, which was available, but the journey to build that plot became quite lengthy. Issues of funding, issues about, you know, building, and she wanted the new build to be to a very good quality. And that's what it is now. Essentially, all the girls are in the new home. It's an amazing place. It's got grounds, it's got gardens, it's got, you know, great facilities. But it was a battle. It was certainly a battle to get there, and certainly she's driven that forward. So the new place is just amazing. They welcome sort of visitors to the home. Again, that's obviously been somewhat of a challenge during the pandemic. And as an aside, I'm sure that's had an impact on funds, because the way it often works is people with a connection in Punjab or India, they'll go and visit, and upon visiting, they'll often make a donation as well. And I suspect due to the pandemic and visitors being affected, it's probably affected income to some level. So that's been the journey. The old home had the iconic cradle in its wall, and the new home has an equivalent as well.
Can you explain a little bit more about that, cradle? Because I mean, you know, we were talking earlier, and I did say that I've got a couple of friends that have adopted, you know, in the last few years from India, and both adopted girls from orphanages. One, you know, was born at the orphanage, and the other one was actually abandoned in a dustbin, was left in a dustbin, which, you know, to me, it's just horrifying to think that anybody could leave a child. But again, we'll go into, you know, I suppose sort of like why it may happen. But tell us a little bit more about the cradle.
Yeah, the cradle it's a striking thing. You know, it's built into the wall of the home. It looks like the equivalent of a sort of a safe deposit box with a glass front. And the concept was this, is that if anyone who was in the mindset that they couldn't look after their baby girl. They could deposit the baby there, depart from the scene, a little alarm goes off, and from that point onwards, Unique Home for Girls would look after that baby girl right through to adulthood. So it's a really amazingly symbolic thing. On circumstances, that's an interesting point you raised, because Bibi obviously gets these calls, and she's talked about those in the past, you know, when people are in that scenario where a baby girl's been born and they're thinking about doing something, you know, terrible, etc. So she's had calls from people saying, you know, a baby's been abandoned in a field or found in a plastic bag, etc. Different circumstances. She has to do that emergency visit, and on occasion when the babies arrive, then in the first phase they would often require the appropriate medical treatment to make sure everything's okay, everything's working in terms of its physical faculties, etc. So that has happened. And more recently, obviously on numbers you mentioned the girls, there's 80 girls at the home at the moment, and the youngest baby girls are 2 at 2 months.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing scenario. I think the photograph I sent to you yesterday, I was kindly sent photographs by Satnam, who's one of the main sort of helper trustees there, and so there's two girls at 2 months currently.
Gosh, and it's like, you know, I know we were talking earlier, because I think it's very easy to get into, you know, sort of like judgment of anybody that abandons a baby. We don't know what's going on in their lives. We don't know where, you know, I mean, like we were saying earlier, I mean, those babies could have been born out of wedlock, which in a very, I suppose, a very strict sort of like country like India, you know, sort of like having a baby outside of marriage is a big no-no, because it's a very conservative mindset. But, you know, those babies could have been born out of any number of reasons, including rape, which we know is hugely prevalent across the world, not just in India, across the world. This isn't, you know, this isn't about, you know, country bashing or culture bashing, because that's something that we are definitely not wanting to do on any show ever, because at the end of the day, we're in no position to judge anybody else. You know, we need to be, you know, we all live in glass houses, don't throw stones. But, you know, I mean, so with Bibi, when she does this, you know, she'll go out and get these babies on an emergency. Does she also, you know, she's called out and if she can't get to them, does she also work with a network of other orphanages to actually help these babies?
I think they have a lot of supporters themselves, and they're sort of, in a sense, become a name, a brand in Punjab and beyond, in fact. So I think they're pretty well known, and they're well connected, well respected through the relevant organisations. So that's not sort of, I think, generally an issue. I think your point is right in terms of circumstance of a baby girl arriving there. We don't tend to look at how it happened. It's about the welfare and the journey forward. That's what Unique Home does. I mean, obviously the viewers will be able to imagine the different circumstances why a baby would be left, and there are many and varied, I'm sure. But it's the journey forward, and it's the journey of the quality, the upbringing, the sisterhood between the girls. They regard them, you know, obviously they are sisters, and again, Bibi's like, you know, Bibi's their mum, so to speak. It's that family environment which is, you know, achieved so well.
Yeah, and there are, you know, like we say, there are a number of, I suppose, orphanages or children's homes around India where they do actually, you know, raise the children as their own, and they raise them in a very sort of like close-knit family setting. So, yeah, they do see each other as siblings. Now, with, like you said, the second home, you said that you had, like, you know, there's a lot of sort of like issues around that. Was that more to do with the bureaucracy side of things, or was it down to COVID?
It was a combination of things. The finances came into it. You know, these build projects are not inexpensive. It obviously was being done to a very good level. I mean, so there was that transition where it got slightly delayed as to how long it took. But fortunately, it's there. It's complete. What's happened is they moved in obviously before the pandemic arose, but I think they've had to do the kind of things that people are doing here in the UK, because schools have been shut, and there's even been an element of online teaching there as well. I think some of the girls have had tablets, etc. as well. The schooling thing is quite interesting, because if you can imagine a home where there's so many girls of different ages, When it's working, when everything's open, the school operation in the morning is like a military exercise, because you've got different vehicles going to different schools, because all different ages, and they're all coming back at different times. So it's just amazing to see when that happens. Hopefully we're back to that soon anyway.
Yeah, no, I hope so. I honestly hope so, especially with the vaccine coming out. So you can imagine, and also sort of in terms of sort of like the charity, the money that's collated, I mean, that, you know, obviously is going towards sort of like the maintenance of home, the school uniforms, the schooling fees, the food fees, everything. So how much, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, you know, because I think it's a good thing for people to know. It's like, because people think of charity and they think, oh, well, you know, they take this much, they take that much. But how much does it really cost to actually feed, clothe, educate, and nurture 80 girls a month?
I mean, it's not inconsiderable, because some of the fees, they try to send the girls to the best education facilities. So some of that involves private fees. Some of the girls, when they get older, they go away to school residentially, you know, the equivalent of going away to uni. You can imagine that. You've got the nuts and bolts of, as I said, feeding them, the clothing. What we've done as UK Friends of Unique Home is that a lot of our donations were given for this, for the building, for the next stage of the building, the strategic things that were required. Fortunately, they obviously, UK Friends, we support them and raise awareness, and they're also lucky to have supporters, obviously supporters from India and supporters from other countries. So it's a combination. It's a combination of things. Yeah.
And it's, you know, and every penny counts. So we've had a few more comments. We've had Harikamal Randwa saying, hi all, great work you are doing, Baji. Baji, for those who don't speak Punjabi or Hindi, means brother. Yes. Thomas Harrigan is listening in from Glasgow. Hi Thomas, thank you for joining us. Now, because you said
let me cut in there, because Thomas Harrigan's a very relevant person. In terms of our history of UK Friends, I'll just mention it. We've had a number of trustees in the past, and all the trustees have been fantastic. They've all played a part in the UK Friends journey to where we've got to now. You know, brilliant fundraising events, brilliant awareness. But where it all started was that when me and Rina came back from India, we thought this is a really good cause, but we should register this as a UK charity, you know, as an official charity, which we did. And in that process, we found out that Tom Harrigan was involved. And who Tom Harrigan is he's the ex-chief inspector of Strathclyde Police in Scotland. And what there was a high-level exchange program between the Indian police and the Scottish police. So what Tom had been doing in many years before we got involved, he was going to Punjab, and through that journey, the respective police forces got to know each other, and obviously Tom thought it was a brilliant home. And so his connection was already made, and we then connected with him as we started the journey. So I mean, just to say where we are now, Tom is our sort of senior trustee. There's myself and Rina, who are trustees. There's Debbie, who's from the West Midlands, and there's Mina from Leicester. So we're the 5 current trustees of UK Friends. I thought I'd just fill that in now. It's an opportune moment.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did, because we were going to talk about Thomas, weren't we, later on, with regards to one of, you know, a couple of girls that have grown up in the home. So actually, should we, now that we've mentioned Tom, should we talk about those girls? Because you said that, you know, obviously, you know, the education is paid for, but let's talk about their journey, because that's actually inspiring as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they obviously, girls have their ambitions, what they want to do, what they want to achieve, and I suppose the 2 girls we can talk about is Lucy and Sheba. They're on the photographs, I think, which I sent to you. But I mean, picking up Sheba's story, it was an amazing story. It's already got through this chapter now, but essentially she travelled from Punjab to study in the UK. And at the time, we didn't tell people where she was there, but we did obviously at the point of her graduation. So she went to Leeds University, did a full degree there, graduated with a first-class honours from there, and obviously she was supported during that journey. And Tom went to her graduation. Lovely photograph that we've got in relation to that. So that's just an example of that brilliant journey of education to come to the UK, to reside here, get a first-class honours, and onwards and upwards. And their education, both Lucy's and Sheba's, is continuing on a higher post-degree phase at the moment. So that's that thing, that aspiration to achieve is backed fully, and clearly the girls are maximising their potential.
Well, absolutely, and the beauty is like, you know, the potential that they've been given, they've made the most of it, and you know, it's such a blessing that, you know, BBG is there to actually, you know, give these girls a chance at life. So let's talk about, because I mean, a lot of these girls are coming in. So we've had, sorry, Bina Briggs has just said, so heartwarming. Yeah, Bina, I agree, it definitely is. Now, let's talk about like the girls that are coming in, because, you know, we have got some photos which we'll show at the end of the show for them. But, you know, obviously a lot of these girls come in and we don't know their backgrounds or where they've come, if they've been abandoned. So how do you celebrate their birthdays?
Well, that's something that we learned at the initial phase, and because the birthdays may well have all been different days, they celebrate the birthday on one day, which is the 24th of April. So on that date in April, they always have a sort of mega birthday party in Punjab. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, that hasn't happened in the last couple of years. So it's been slightly faltered, but it's an amazing event. You know, it's a real carnival atmosphere. There's a huge celebration, huge turnout. Me and Marina have been lucky to go in past years to the event. Tom goes almost every year. So yeah, that's the day. It's one day. It's a celebration for them all, and I think that in itself is unique. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, there's never going to be an excuse to forget your sibling's birthday, is there?
No. And they have a sort of a cake on an industrial scale, as you can imagine. The cake is just huge. But yeah, it's a lovely celebration. So on the back of that, we can maybe mention cake and candles, perhaps. That's
what I was actually getting to next, because they do the celebration there, but actually you also create a big celebration here, don't you? So tell us a little bit more about the cake and candle campaign.
Yeah, because I mean, clearly we have brilliant supporters from the UK and beyond, and it was nice to make a connection between them and the event, because obviously very few can get to Punjab or wouldn't be in Punjab at that time. So we started this very simple idea of cake and candles. The idea was that you post a photograph with the cake and candle, with your family, with your friends, with whoever, and we then frame that and share that as part of the celebration. We've expanded that. We used to just do that around about the time of the birthday, but now, for example, this year, cake and candles will start on the 1st of April. So from the 1st of April onwards, when you have got a cake and got a candle, you take a pic, you post it, and then we share it, and we get some amazing photographs. In past years, we've had some really good ones. We've had people take them in an aeroplane, in some unusual locations. Obviously, some great family ones. People even sometimes make it as an awareness thing. They'll we have supporters who'll take them into work, take cakes into work, and then take them with colleagues, etc. So it's a really happy celebratory tone. And at the end of the day, eating cakes is good anyway, isn't it? So that's not a difficulty.
Never excuse for cake, is there?
Exactly.
Every single time. I know my mum sent me a piece the other day. Yeah, so we've had like Bhavna's joined us. Hi Bhavna, thank you for joining us. She's saying lovely topic, great work. Bless you. She's saying apologies for being late. Honestly, Bhavna, don't apologise. We've still got loads to talk about, but thank you so much for joining us. And if you are joining us from LinkedIn and YouTube, honestly, please put your name and details in the comments so that we know where in the world you're watching from. So
yeah, no, that's definitely an important one. From the 1st of April onwards, when you're with the family, etc. Obviously, it's got to be done under the pandemic, but having a cake, taking a picture, posting it on our platforms. We'll talk about our social media shortly, but it's a really simple thing, and it's a really positive thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know we were sort of talking about obviously for the pandemic, but you did have an event last year that was going to be coming on with one of sort of top names in the bungalow industry, but that's had to be cancelled. Tell us a little bit more about that event, and then we'll go on to the.
Sure. Rest. I mean, in our history, we've had some really great events. As a past trustees, have hosted some fantastic events in the Midlands and in other areas, and they've been events where we raised a good lump sum, and we haven't done that in recent times. So our West Midlands trustee wanted to do something in Birmingham, Debbie. We set up this event. It's at the Regency in Birmingham. It was all going really nicely. Sponsorship was set. We had H. Darmy playing. We had Hajab as the compare. A really nice program. Ticket sales were nice. But then coincidentally, it was due to take place just 2 to 3 weeks before pandemic hit, and then we made the decision at the right time, I think, to say, look, we're going to cancel this one. So that event actually is quite amazing. What's happened at that event, which I'm staggered by. Hardly anyone's asked for their money back.
Yeah.
At all. All the sponsors have left their sponsorship intact. So in effect, that event is on hold and frozen to be rebooked. And we're not quite sure. It's an event that's going to be circa 250, 300 people. So we've got to be clear as to when that will be allowed. But we're saying, to be on the safe side, we may nudge it to very early part of next year. But as soon as it's refixed, we'll blast it out on social media. We'll let everyone know. But it's strange because it's an event which is we can sell some more tickets, but it's an event that's ready to go.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? I mean, that's actually quite a nice position to be in, to have a ready-made event, not have to worry about the logistics, and it's just the date. But all being well, the 21st of June onwards, we should be back to being able to mingle. Let's see what happens with the vaccines.
I'm sure there's many brides and grooms waiting for that period, because there's obviously been affected majorly in that industry, hasn't it, really?
There has. But having said that, I mean, I think in one way, maybe sort of like Asian families have realised you don't need like 10,000 people at a wedding, and having 50 is more than enough, or use the money for something else. But that's just my opinion. But Ranjit, let's talk a little bit more. I mean, we'll go back to the Unique Girls in a minute. I'm interested in the Langar Seva you do. Could you just explain a little bit more about what Langar means and what Seva means as well? Because we have got some non-Indians watching the show. Yeah,
I mean, essentially, Seva is service. We've got a duty to do that. It's obviously it's to help others, to help good causes. We got involved in an organisation called Midland Langar Seva Society. It's been well established for circa 7 years. Based from the West Midlands, established by Ranjit and Baramjeet, and it's amazing what they've done. They've got branches all over the UK and internationally as well. So we joined the Leicester team. The Langar is the idea of a communal food which is provided free, and that's a tradition which exists in gurdwaras in worldwide. So what effectively does, it feeds people. It's very simple. It feeds people who are in difficult circumstances, whatever the circumstances are. And what Leicester does, in practical terms, is on the Leicester market, for circa 5 days a week, it takes over one of the stalls, and you have a team that provide a hot meal and various other things, drinks, sweets, etc. And that was doing anything between 80 and 120 meals a night. So you'd have a queue of people. Me and Rina were on the Tuesday team. We turn up to the service at 7 o'clock. You'd have potentially 60, 70, 80 people waiting in the line, and the food service took an hour. So yeah, it was just it brought it home that even in these times, this was pre-pandemic, that people are struggling for very basic necessities such as a hot meal.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
And that's continuing. I mean, the volunteers in the organisation are amazing. The lead in Leicester is a gentleman called Jinder. They've got some great people in Leicester. Amazing amount of work they do. But during the pandemic, because of the homeless being housed, the service actually continued. So during the pandemic, Leicester LMS, as an example, has done sort of 150,000 meals, which is amazing. And MLS per se, worldwide in the pandemic year, did over 1 million meals. So some amazing figures, but it's very simple. It's hot meal being provided to people in difficult times.
And I think that's one thing that the Sikh community have done for forever, really. Because Langar in the Gurdwara, for those non-Indians, it's the Sikh temple.
Yes.
And I think the Sikh community worldwide are very well renowned for their Langar, for providing meals and food for those in need. It's just, the community, I think, is so altruistic in terms of making sure that people are fed. It's actually really inspiring. And I think, we should all be taking a leaf out of that book as well, to say, look, if you can help, always help. And I think, that's not to say that other Indian communities don't help. I think everybody helps in their own way. But the food, the Langar, it's a big part of what, It
is, and certainly a good point by you that certain terms of all the volunteers from Midlands Langar, they come from all different backgrounds, and also support from the corporate community. Leicester's managed to establish a unit just further up from the Golden Mile to store food, and it's been brilliant, the support we've had so many different people. So yeah, it's definitely a huge community effort.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's, you know, I think it's just sort of like taking a few people to inspire others to step forward is amazing. So we've had a few more comments. We've had Sundip Sur saying, superb cause, going back to the unique home, superb cause. I've been to the home in Jalandhar. It's such a great charitable cause. Well done, Ranjit and unique friends.
So Sunny Sur is a solicitor friend of mine. So
okay.
he's been supported from the start. So yeah, it's great. A lot of good supporters.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And, you know, I think sort of be nice sort of, you know, to maybe sort of like thank, you know, on the show is like, we'll thank them all as they come on individually, or you can thank them anyway. But Abhavna has said, any little langar donation is great for giving back as Seva. And I think Seva is a cultural thing. It's not just a religion. It's across the Eastern culture, especially Southeast Asian culture, is very much about being in servitude. Yes. And we've Kamal Randhawa, sorry, please forgive me for pronouncing your name incorrectly. Visiting the girls' home is an experience. We visited a while back, and seeing those girls and seeing they want love and human affection, I guess they never had that parent bond, but they do with Bibi, don't they?
They do, definitely. And it's the atmosphere there is just like sort of any other home. I mean, one thing that's quite it's sort of quite emotive actually. On a past trip which I went a long time ago, obviously some of the girls constantly go on and get married, and we went, one of the earlier trips me and Rina went, and one of the girls who had got married and got children of her own was visiting the home and staying. So it's effectively like coming back to your family home, isn't it? And so it just showed the journey, that to go from there and have your own children and come back with your own children. It was amazing. So, but yeah, they've got a great bond between them, and you know, it's always a great atmosphere when you go and visit them.
I mean, hopefully once we can go to India, we will, you know, because I know that my mum is very, very keen to go to Punjab and go to the Golden Temple, and then, you know, we'd love to visit that. Well, you know, we'd love to visit the home as well. Though I can't promise that I will.
And I think that's the thing, Rupa. I think when, you know, obviously not everyone can, but those who manage to go themselves, that's the one. It's just, in a strange way, we don't have to promote the home. It sort of promotes itself because of its name and the impact it makes on people. But awareness for those who haven't gone there is important, of course. It tells them the story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's sort of like getting that awareness out there is hugely important, because it's about the positive impact that homes like this can have. You know, we'll park the past side of things and actually just focus on the thing. But like I said, if I do go there, I can't promise that I won't sneak about 4 girls home in my suitcase. I mean, I'm looking at those pictures, and they're such beautiful girls. It's just, you know, the photos themselves, literally, you know, they are so stunning to watch. So we've had a few people more joining us. So Nehal Krem is watching. So hi, Nehal, thanks for joining. So, you know, going sort of like on to the future of like the unique homes, because we've spoken about the cradle, we've spoken about, you know, the second home. What does the future hold for unique homes, and also for the UK Friends?
I think the home, I think, obviously the leadership's inspirational through Bibi, and I think going forward she's going to need more help and assistance, and I think that obviously they're nurturing that. They have their own trustee board of seniors and elders, etc., who are based in Punjab, so that's their own governance, and that's how they operate. So it's interesting, because often when we get a call, because of the touch with the profile we've raised for the home, they often think we are unique home, and we make it very clear that we're UK Friends and that they have their own governance and we're based here. So for the home, I think it's going to be about, you know, consolidation, finishing off any bits of the new home. It's a fantastic new property. The grounds are beautiful. It's got, you know, play area, a lot of grass and a lot of flowers, etc. It's a real nice open space. That's what the original home didn't have. The original home didn't have that sort of outdoor space area. Regarding, and who knows, I mean, going forward in terms of the leadership of the home, it may well be that some of the older girls will have a part in that. through education, through progression. I can see that happening. It's sort of already happening to some extent, but that's obviously an internal decision for them. UK Friends, I mean, I think what's been important for us, going back to our legacy from when we started, was certainly the trustees have been really important, past and present, been really important. Everyone, we have no paid staff in UK Friends. It's all voluntary work, so in terms you can assure yourself that the funds that are given go on without any hefty admin costs, etc. But the thing I was going to mention, Rupa, was social media.
Yes.
Because I think that had a really important impact from us from the get-go. I'll mention a name, but from the very start, a couple of people who I still know well, Martin and Dan, had a company that worked around this field, and they helped us with the original Facebook and remain supporters now.
Yeah.
And our original Facebook started, with a 0 following, and currently is, 11,900 people.
Wow.
11,915, which I'm hoping after the show might be more than that. We might get to 12,000.
When did you start your Facebook page?
It was around about, I think, within a couple of years. I think it'd been running for at least 7 or 8 years now. But it grew organically, and it grew across different regions as well. So that following, which is obviously close to 12,000 now, has been really important. And our other platforms are following. We've got Twitter with sort of nearly 1,000 on. We've got Instagram with sort of nearly 1,500 on. I think growing those is important because that creates supporters who haven't had the chance to visit, or create supporters who go and visit, raise fundraising, do fundraising events. Originally, our journey was about us arranging events and driving it ourselves fully. But what's now happened, it's grown its own momentum. So somebody will do a bungee jump, somebody will do a walk, somebody will do another event. And it's made a big difference. I think the social media has been really important.
And I think as time goes on, I mean, especially sort of like, the last few years, because I think social media, when Facebook first came out, people just thought it was a novelty. But actually, as time has gone on, especially over the last maybe 4 or 5 years, social media has become so much more important. And they say that if one person has an interaction with one of your social media platforms, then that one interaction will lead to 10 of their friends, which will lead to another 10 of their friends each.
Yep, absolutely.
And will grow exponentially. And
maybe we can do that challenge show, Rupa. I'll say that today, then anyone who's watched the show, if you can share the UK Friends page on Facebook, if you are, and on Twitter and Insta, especially, let's try Facebook especially. Let's see if we can get it to over 12,000 in the next few days. So we need about another 100, I think, to get us there. So if you can share the UK Friends page, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so this is called Challenge Facebook Growth, okay? Unique Home for Girls, Challenge Facebook Growth. You heard it here first. But you know what, please do share. So what we'll do at the end of the show, because in terms of the social media side of things, you're available on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Are you on YouTube as well?
We have a YouTube. I don't think it's populated so frequently, but we do. The other thing I was going to mention, if I can, is the LinkedIn.
Yes.
Yeah, again, I think it's going back to those 2 people. Actually, I had a chat with Martin and Dan again, and they're kindly going to just set up a UK Friends LinkedIn page. We thought it's important to reach out to the business community, the professional community, etc. And again, that hopefully will go live hopefully in the next 7 days or so. So what we'll do is, with your permission, we'll share a few links and maybe share the show, etc. And just keep an eye out for that. If you could, those with good LinkedIn followings, etc., you could share it within your own circle. That'd be really appreciated.
Well, because that's just it about the charity, isn't it? It's not always just about doing things with your own hands or giving money. It's like you can support by sharing pages, sharing posts, and actually helping build the awareness. Because there might be some people watching this saying, "Oh, I'd love to help, but I don't have enough money at the moment because of COVID." So what are the ways that you would encourage people to help and support charity?
I think by following the social media, you get to know what's going on. Then now, post-pandemic, I mean, clearly people have been doing events online during the pandemic. There's the virtual version of it, but it's never about the amount of money, because I think it's just the awareness. I'll give you an example. I think ways back when at my daughter's school, she managed to get this a chance to shout out Unique Home, and we went to the school and did a little presentation. And then it's an idea I nicked off somebody else. But remember the old Smarties tubes that used to be round with the clippy plastic thing? We gave all the girls a Smarties tube at the end of the talk, and said in the week afterwards, if you could bring that back with any donation, that'd be appreciated. And it worked really well because all those girls then connected with the social media, but also we raised some money as well. So it's never about the amount. It's the awareness, I think, is the critical thing. The money will always follow in due course.
No, absolutely. So we've had another comment from LinkedIn. So Ranjit Thaliwal is saying, definitely recommend visiting the home if you're in Punjab, and how the girls have been given a future. Well done to Ranjit and team for the regular exposure for the home in the UK. And Kamal is saying, I think even sending clothes like princess dresses, giving these girls an opportunity to be a little princess for the day is priceless. That could be the theme for the Candle and Cakes Princess Party. Or warrior queen. Actually, I'd say do a warrior queen party.
But people do. We have had photographs of people dressing up, etc. A shout out. That's my brother-in-law, Chandy from West Brom. So hello to everybody from West Brom.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us, Chandy. We really appreciate it. But there are so many things, and it is. And I love that idea of the Smarties. And that's something that, if there are people watching that have got kids that are going back to school and they're looking at doing something, then actually why not support this, because it's children helping children, which is what Healing Your Hearts do as well.
And with the return to school, we had some lovely photographs from a couple of schools last year where the whole sort of year took it on board. Well, a couple of classes took it on. They baked and they sent photographs from the school. So again, I don't know what's going to be allowed during the return to school phase, but certainly in your own household, there's no problem having a cake and a candle. So that's definitely allowed, isn't it?
Of course it is. So actually, tell me something about, last year's cake and candles, because obviously we were sort of like right at the beginning of the first lockdown.
Yeah.
How many people approximately participate? Because I know when you sent me the photos, there were hundreds that I sort of like had. How many people participated? And
there was loads. I think I'm hazarding a guess. We must have had hundreds of photographs. So because at the end of the day, in one gathering, sometimes you'd have 2 or 3 photographs. People take them in the garden, take them in the house. So all of that was obviously still allowed in your own circle. So that sort of is pandemic proof, cake and candles, because you can do it. You can. Well, if you want to, you can just buy a big cake for yourself, can't you?
Who needs an excuse? But here's the thing, Ranjit. So what about this year's cake and candles? Obviously we're still in lockdown. We're not going to be coming out of it until the 21st of June. But what is your goal for this year? How many people would you like to participate in the cake and candle this year?
I think for me, what's important is nice to have the variety. So we've got the bigger window because we start from the 1st of April, because sometimes what's really nice is obviously birthdays fall in that period, so somebody can do it on their own birthday. Not that you need an excuse to eat cake. I think the variety is good, the locations are good. We had some worldwide ones as well. Some kids dress up. It's just a mix, really. All the different circumstances of family. You have elders on there, you have young timers on there. It's the mix. And I think people do like them. I must shout out a couple of people. The frames are done. Again, we work on Seva. I try not to pay for stuff. So the frames that are done, they're designed by a young lad in the South Mani and Amit, local business sporter, and Mikkel. They do the frames for free. So I'm just inboxing them all these photographs, and they frame them, send them back, and then we post them. So it's a little operation which is done on Seva, which is great.
Yeah, with its importance, and again, just for those who don't speak, sort of any of the Indian languages, Seva is all about servitude. It's about giving, it's servitude as a charitable, altruistic act, rather than I'm going to do this, so actually give me something in return. This is all done unconditionally, which is hugely important, because that is what Seva is. It's unconditional giving and love. And actually, why didn't you do this then for this year's candles? Why don't you just set up sort of like something where, you know, it's like which part of the world are the photos coming from, and actually get it worldwide?
Yeah, no, definitely. Then we could certainly title them. So, you know, we could say from which city they're on, etc. We get quite a few from India coming over as well. Obviously, UK is really strong. We've had them from North America as well. So yeah, that would be good. We could tag people in, and as long as you post it, even if you don't have the details for ourselves direct, even as long as you post it onto social media, we can capture it and frame it.
Is there a hashtag they would use when they post photos?
You know, I'm not good on hashtags. So that my daughter, has a lead in the Instagram page. So I'm sure we'll create one. But it tends to be cake and candles. It tends to be cake and candles 2021. We normally keep it relatively simple, but I'm sure we can do that.
Okay, well, what would be great is sort of at the end of the show, if you could actually, you know, if we could sort of like post all of the links to the social media for Unique Hope for Girls, and then once sort of the cake and candle campaign is ready, it'd be great if you could also share the hashtag so that, you know, we can share it again with, you know, the double 15 minutes, we can share it with people around, and we can get their friends to share it, and yeah, let's get this viral.
Definitely, no, we've got good timing because it's we've got a few weeks in March to play with. No, we'll get you all the links over, and obviously everyone who's viewed or listened to the show, it'd be great if you get involved. We've got a certain amount of people who've involved year on year anyway, so you can just grow. You can just get more pictures, more cake.
More cake, always room for cake, always room for cake. I mean, like, Ranjit, if people want to get in touch with you, you know, directly to offer support, are they better off going through the Unique Home for Girls?
They can contact me direct through the social medias. My email they can have, you know, it's ranjitst@hotmail.co.uk. That's my email. You can email me direct. On LinkedIn, I've got, you know, quite a few followers. You can direct message me on that. So whichever way, happy for people to contact me direct, and then obviously happy to speak to people as well. And we do a lot of those calls. Obviously, our office, we just have that as the address for UK friends. So we get some quite interesting calls. Sometimes get calls from abroad on occasion, just people asking what they can do, how they can help. So a phone call is usually a lot better than a trail of emails. Just speak to them, tell them what can be done. And then normally that's a launch pad for when they're perhaps going to Punjab.
Yeah. No,
and then they say, right, when I go, I'm going to go visit. One of the common questions is, what do they need now? I'm going in a few weeks' time. And actually what we do on that one is we'll often say, look, go and visit and just ask Bibi, because she'll tell you what the item of the day is. You know, for example, they might need exercise books. And then she'll take the person straight away. They'll go and get the exercise books and come back. So that's often a nice way to do it.
Yeah, and it's more practical and hands-on, isn't it, as well, so that they can, you know, it's like they're getting exactly what they need rather than what we want to give. You know, a lot of people, you know, should we send them colouring books and pens, but they may not need that. They actually may need money for a few more iPads.
Absolutely. And one of the nice treats that people have done, they've done this many a time, is they'll go along and they'll go to the home and they'll maybe take them somewhere. You know, they'll take them all to McDonald's or take them for a treat out somewhere. So that's or bring some food in for them. So there's many ways that you can help.
Yeah. There's always a way to bring a smile to you know, to a child's face, isn't there? So here's the question I wanted to ask you, because we're getting close to the end of sort of like the hour, but the question I wanted to ask you is, you know, obviously sort of like there's been you know, I suppose adoption processes, etc., because I know sort of like there are so many children that are looking for adopted parents. But if somebody does want to adopt from Unique Home for Girls, is that something that they are able to talk to BBG about, and is that something that is a possibility?
It's actually it's a question that has been asked quite common. So there's an FAQ section on UK Friends, and you can have a dialogue with them. They've got their own provisions, and there's obviously certain regulations that run around India in that regard. So again, we're always quite careful to keep the separation between their governance and us. So but direct dialogue can obviously take place with the home. The one that's more common, to be fair, is they'll often want to speak to Bibi or the home about a visit. So they'll say, I'm going in 3 weeks' time. And obviously what you can't do is just turn up out of the blue, because the kids, the girls have got their responsibility, they're at school and they've got various things going on. So what we do recommend is if you're going to Punjab and say you're going with mum in future years and you're going to go there on a certain week, try to sort of make some arrangement to go first, so that they know you're coming. So that tends to be the one, and we don't mind helping on that. We'll give the details for the home, the actual home now, which is good. We became sort of front of house with them because it was our website, our social media. They thought we were a unique home, which we're not. Luckily now the home itself has its own social media and it has its own website, so that's quite good as well, and all the details are on there. Likewise, the home's contact details, as in address, numbers, etc., they're all on our UK Friends website. That's another shout out. We do have a sort of a contact form on our UK Friends website. So if you're not a social media person, you're not out of the loop, you can keep an eye on the website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And we can talk about that. And also, I mean, I guess it's in terms of booking in advance, it's also about safeguarding as well. Just making sure that you are clean and above board, because these are vulnerable children and we don't want.
Absolutely, and there's guidance about that, and that's certainly a very, very important issue.
Yeah, no, completely. So we've had Raj Patel saying, brilliant topic. Thank you for joining us, Raj. And Harikamala is saying, adoption is the most loving thing you could do. I completely agree with you. I think, to give a loving home to a child that isn't necessarily, your own blood, then yeah, it is. It definitely is. But Ranjit, you know what? We are literally out of time. I've got to say thank you so much for joining us, and I think it's great to have you back on to talk about the mental health side of things you do, in the future, because I think the mental health topic is such a big topic. So it'd be good to talk about that. But for today, I think talking about Unique Home for Girls and the Seva has just been amazing, really uplifting, and really inspiring. Have you got any sort of last words you would like to share with everybody?
Yeah, no, first, thank you for the opportunity to come on the show. I want to thank Raj, who introduced, which was fantastic. Thanks to everyone who's passed the comments and tuned into the show. Please join the social media platforms. That'd be really appreciated. A big thank you to all the supporters, really, that have been there from the get-go and continue now. Obviously, we're going to come back in stream now with hopefully the pandemic being over. Get involved in Cake and Candles, get involved in terms of social media, look out for our events, and that's on behalf of myself and all of the trustees.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And honestly, it's like Cake and Candles, guys. This is the perfect excuse to eat cake when it's not your birthday. You're not having afternoon tea. I don't need an excuse. I can eat cake anytime. But for those who are being good, so we've had one more person joining us. So commenting, Sanjit Vajri. Hi Sanjit, nice to see you on. She's actually been listening in from LinkedIn. She goes, great discussion. Thanks for all the info. She says she listens on LinkedIn. So Ranjit, thank you. We're going to actually end the show with a beautiful video compilation of everything, well, not everything, but a lot of what the Unique Home for Girls does. So Ranjit, thank you so much. And we will share, I'll let you sort of say about the social media that you will be happy to share. Yes. All the links, emails and contacts across all the platforms. So yeah, thank you. Before I'm going to before I let you go, I'm just going to tell everybody what we're doing next week. So next week we've got Mittal Panky that's on. She's going to be talking about education and the education options available to the children, because I know that a lot of the I think Ranjit, your kids have they all graduated now? Sort of one.
Yes, yeah, we've already homeschooling, thankfully, because our kids are older. So they've graduated and beyond.
Yeah, so that's a sort of thing. But there are sort of situations where people have been homeschooling and actually sort of realise there's been discussion around that, saying that actually there is some kids that have missed out and that are quite far behind, but they may not necessarily be far behind. It's just perception. But next week we're talking to Mittal from Spark Academy.
Yes.
About because the process she uses is amazing, and she has actually taken kids from sort of a grade C or B up to A stars or first class honours degrees.
No, we had this opportunity of meeting Mikkel at our breakfast, and she's done some tremendous work.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to talk to her next week. But Ranjit, back to the Unique Girls. Thank you so much. And we're going to play out with this compilation of photos and videos. And please, please, please support the charity. They're doing some amazing work. And do you know what? You're helping keep the smile on these beautiful girls' faces, because like we said in the ad, daughters are diamonds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Satnam Vaheguru 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 Satnam Vaheguru 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 Yahi naam hai sahara सतनाम श्री वाहेगुरु सतनाम श्री वाहेगुरु सतनाम श्री वाहेगुरु सतनाम श्री वाहेगुरु जिस्म दा पर आत्मा पर है मुक जांदे ने जिस्म दा पर आत्मा पर है जिदे अंग संग रब है ओनु फिर किस कदर है सतनाम श्री वाहेगुरु 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 जिस्म दा पर आत्मा पर Sri Vaheguru.